What are the key attributes of a player that you're looking for?
I think you've got to look at the 5 aspects now of cricket, which are the technical aspects, which is sort of ability to catch and so they've got the coordination, the ABCs and all that sort of stuff built into playing shots or being able to bowl the ball correctly and safely. You've got the tactical aspects of being able to maybe bowl to plans and be able to sort of, from a batter's point of view, maybe play in certain scenarios and understand what the scenarios are. Physical aspects, they've got to be a good athlete now, and that comes back to the ABCs, having those sort of the motor skills built into them from an early age, and developing those as you go, sort of along the sort of the long-term athlete development program, sort of specific to what their needs are and requirements. And then you're looking at the mental aspects as well, so you're looking at just understanding the game situation, having awareness about what the game situation is all like, concentration levels, and building that all into the big picture, and knowing, I think, a bit about themselves too, and knowing what their own strengths and weaknesses are, and playing to those as much as possible, playing to their strengths, but understanding that they will have areas that need to work on. And the last one, just probably the lifestyle, how they act off the pitch, and how they sort of look after themselves off the pitch and that sort of thing, making sure they're making the correct choices or the right choices for them.
I guess when I'm looking at players, especially from a selection point of view, I guess there's 2 phases to it. When I first sort of lay eyes on them and I get them to see them play in an environment or a training session, I'm looking for different things than maybe once I've worked with them for a while. I guess the first thing I want to see though is a real hunger and a fight. You know, if a player gets hit in the nets or in a game, it's sometimes how he reacts to that situation, whether he takes his time and whether you can see he's flustered then come next delivery, or whether he actually just brushes it off and gets on and really grits in and goes again. I think that'll undoubtedly stand him in good stead when he's playing in a tough environment, that you can obviously focus, get rid of the distraction, focus on what's at hand. So certainly look for that, bit of toughness. If I can see that, I really like it. I think technical things, yeah, there are obviously signs as coaches we can all see whether he can bowl in a reasonable area, what he's doing, batting, what sort of scoring areas, does he have options of scoring, those kind of things. But for me, I mean, I try not too much at the technical side of the game to start with. I mean, if outcomes are quite good, if he's striking the ball well, he's putting it in a pretty reasonable area, he seems to know what he's roughly trying to do with the thing, I think that's a starting point for me. If I can see that, I'm pretty happy. And then in the next phase, when he maybe makes that squad, or I get the chance to work with him in those sessions, I can look at some technical things to maybe just help refine, you know, the smaller things that might help him to create sort of, when he gets out in the middle, he's ready to go and he knows a little bit more about what he's doing.
What are you looking for in a young, talented cricketer?
What am I looking for in a young, talented cricketer? An understanding of the game. Probably even a little bit of history of the game. Hopefully they'll watch a bit of cricket, either on the TV or down at the club. Sort of attributes to be fairly quick, fairly explosive movements. I'd never sort of say a sort of size or a height or anything like that, because there's some great cricketers that are tall, some great small. Just a general natural ability to move. Nearly things look quite easy, but there's also room for guys that work hard and are quite technical. So I'd never kind of go, oh, he looks a bit fidgety and very robotic, but there's some fantastic cricketers that are like that as well. So ideally someone natural, moving, hitting the ball very freely, bowling the ball, kind of looks like they're not even thinking about it, really.
Pete, as a coach, what are you looking for in an international cricket player?
In an international cricket player, I guess you're looking at somebody that ticks all the boxes. I think first of all, obviously, you got to have talent. You know, show good hand-eye coordination, be skillful, be athletic. But then also attitude, I think, is very important as well. You know, somebody that wants to work hard and has a good attitude around the team as well is important.
What would be your key messages to coaches working in the pathway around working with young talented cricketers?
First thing would be, let's keep it simple. Let's get the basics right and progress from there. We don't need to, in my opinion, especially at that younger their level, sort of 12, 13, 14, 15. We don't need to be looking at specifics. We don't need to be saying this athlete is a fast bowler or this athlete's a batter. I want to get the basics right and then progress from there. I would say that my biggest message to coaches is do simple things in warm-ups and progress from there. They don't need to take a whole session on their own and pretend or act like an S&C coach. If they have 20 minutes at the start of a session, build in your movement prep, build in your squat, your lunge, your hip stability, your shoulder stability. At the end of the session, build in stuff around recovery, so whether that's foam rolling, stretching, and pull recovery work, and you could have all your bases covered. That's the ideal situation if you don't have an S&C coach there all the times. Obviously if the S&C coach is there, you can make things a little bit more specific, but in terms of a coach, I would say keep it very, very simple, get the basics right, and just continue on a set pathway you have as an organisation in terms of strength and conditioning.
What would be your key messages to coaches across Europe?
Well, quite a big question. I think ultimately responsibility is on them as individuals to try and develop their own knowledge of the game of cricket and their own knowledge of people as much as they can, through online learning, through reading, through discussing with other people. A lot of learning can happen with people you just couldn't imagine you'd learn from. You know, it could be someone in a coffee shop, it could be wherever, it doesn't matter. You have to almost have that desire, that quest for knowledge and want to know. To me, if you have that and you take responsibility for your own development, for your own learning, then that's going to put you at the forefront. It's going to keep your awareness and knowledge quite current with what's going on both in the game of cricket and with individuals that you're dealing with. And that's learning from, you know, if you're in a high performing country, learning from yourself and others around you, but learning from other sports, learning from other codes, everything really. And it comes back to an open mind and a want to learn, a want to grow.
What would be your key messages to other coaches working with under 15s or under 13s in a club environment, and how those players move into your national environment that you lead on?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. I think within my role, actually as a development officer and a coach, that I can see that a lot, and in areas that coaches could be working on, and certainly the basics always tend to get overlooked. I hear a lot of feedback from coaches about what's the latest happening out there, what's going on, what can we show our kids at 11, 13, up to 15 age group, and they forget that Mike Hussey, what he does very well is the basics. He just does them at a world-class level. So it's something I try and drill in when I'm working with other coaches, that don't get away from the basics, but let's try and improve the basics. So go from being good to great to world-class. And I mean, if we can nail those basics, certainly in a pre-season sense, out of season, leading into season, it means that when we get to season, we're not having to go back and do all those basic things again. So that's a big probably gripe of mine. It's just trying to coaches understand that even when they feel it's quite basic themselves, it's actually not about them. It's about the player, and they need the basics, but they need to be doing them at a world-class level. And then when they're in the game situation, they can obviously be put under pressure and they'll stand up.
What would be your key message to other coaches working with talented cricketers?
Probably the key message I would have is to treat them as individuals. You know, as we spoke about, everyone's got a preferred learning style. Everyone probably behaves slightly differently. So I guess trying to speak the player's language is an important thing. So if you can relate to that player as he likes to be related to, whether it's in terms of how you run a session with him or how you just talk to him. So it's trying to come from the player's perspective, I think, and trying to put yourself in his shoes and how you can connect with him is probably important. I think you have to be very easy for some coaches, especially with specialist coaching. A batting coach might want to bring in a new buzzword or a new technique and try and run it out with everybody. But I think more important to see them for who they are, and as I spoke about, you know, see their strengths and try and build on those things, and very much treat them as individuals.
What would be your key message to other coaches across Ireland and Europe about developing cricketers?
Do it with a smile on your face. Have fun. It's not about you, it's about the players. Challenge the players, and hopefully you see the players growing and improving. Just do it with a smile on your face, and hopefully the players enjoy it. That's all it's about.